Okay, the second one that is an NCSoft MMO, this one looks like such a contrast. And when I watched the trailer for this game called Triple L, uber cryptic name, I don't know what that signifies or stands for, I was thinking, this looks far too good to be true. It is another trailer for an impossible looking game that they're saying is an MMO. And I was thinking, please don't be an MMO. Just make this a single player, maybe co-op based game, but just maybe kind of keep it a bit more contained. And it looks phenomenal. It looks like a cross between like Anthem or The Division, third-person shooter, very futuristic. And I'm kind of scunnered as to what to expect from this game, because it looks like there's so much going on. Obviously, heavily militaristic in the future. A lot of warfare. And there's even seems to be like a crossover where at one point in the trailer, it becomes like Titanfall. And the giant mechs come in. And again, it just looks too good to be true. I'm getting vibes, not visually or thematically, of a game called Crimson Desert, which is a fantasy MMO, which looks impossibly good. And I'm hugely excited for. But again, I watched that trailer and thinking, there is no fucking way that this game is going to look this good and be an MMO and can come out in any kind of time frame. It looks impossibly good for an MMO. It looks like a current gen or next gen title that's running like natively, but not online and not MMO. Is this possible, Jamie? What do you think?
It feels really ambitious. Like the Titanfall vibes are strong. Like that moment in the wee interstitial video where the guy climbs into the mech and then the HUD blinks in and all that. I'm like,
yeah,
I would love an MMO where I could do this. And there is a dearth of MMOs that are based in a more futuristic, violent environment. You know, there is. The thing with playing an MMO, I think the thing is that there have to be areas where it's peaceful. There have to be elements that aren't just combat based. There has to be more to the world. And when you're talking about a world ravaged by war, it's a little difficult to imagine how that works. So it's easier in a fantasy setting because for a start, war can take a long time to reach you. Whereas when you've got a giant mech and you can just jump into the city and punch the crap out of them, it's like, why have they not attacked the city yet? I would have attacked the city by now. So, but I don't know. I just don't know. It looks fantastic. Like it looks like the kind of shooter. I think it is third person. It's not FPS, but it looks like the kind of shooter that I would play because obviously I love getting to blow stuff up. But yeah, I don't know. It looks too polished and too big, and I wonder if it's going to be, if they make it work, is it going to be too much for a lot of systems? Is it going to suffer from people not being able to play it or run it, or not having the connection speeds in their area or that sort of thing? But we shall see. Yeah, it's a hell of a starter shooter.
Yeah, that's why I was looking at it and thinking, I would just wish this was like a single player game, or maybe a 4-player co-op game, and just have it be that instead of an MMO, because then you can have crazy amounts of polish, but have it more kind of cooperative or a little bit of PvP, like the Division 2 had. Again, insanely beautiful games, run really, really well on current systems, and you've still got that dystopia, destructed world ravaged by, in the Division's case, it was by the dollar plague or something they referred to it as, and factions that were going up against each other, and you were a Division agent in that. And I'd love it to be that, but obviously they're pitching it to be an MMO, and I don't know. I'm hugely skeptical if this is going to be even remotely achievable. But it is apparently running in engine, and it's obviously a vertical slice of set pieces. And I'm watching the trailer here, and there's these like dropships coming in that are just dropping in drop pods. Whether that's just, I mean, imagine if that was other players just coming into a battle zone.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It might not be. That might just be scripted enemies coming in. But if that was you, like, joining the front of a huge battle that was going on would be absolutely phenomenal. But I'm so skeptical. I want it to be true. I'm a bit jaded when it comes to MMOs this level of presentation. Sarah, please give us your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with both of you. Also, I have to say something about the mech suit. It feels like all three of us have identified this. This is classic, like, Chekhov's gun moment when you arrive at the start of the trailer and you're coming up in this little lift and there's a mech suit right in front of you. I was like, don't you show me that, and don't you dare tell me I can't go in that because I want to be in there. So that instantly I was like, yep, I'm in. But yeah, I guess they've got a while to go. They're saying releases in 2024, so they've got plenty of time to make it happen, I suppose. I'm slightly worried about. I mean, I get, PCs these days. Most people have ridiculously high spec ones, and with the 40 series out now, if people can afford to get one, I'm sure you'd have no problem running something like this. But I guess we'll see what happens. I'll play it. I'll see if it fulfills its promises for sure. Maybe let's all three play it. Let's do that.
I'd love to, and it seems like a big departure and a hugely ambitious goal for NC Soft. Very different from Guild Wars.
Oh yeah, of course.
Very different from the other games that they maybe done, because this is much more third person perspective rather than that kind of isometric top downy sort of view that you get from the traditional kind of MMO stuff. But oh my God, who knows, right? Who knows? It's exciting to think about and to geek over and to get whipped up into a frenzy of the potential. But at the same time, we're like, yeah, but is it though? Come on. Is it actually going to...
The premise sounds absolutely nuts. How on earth are they going to... Because I like to understand a story and have some reasoning behind things. But like, how are they saying that like 10th century and 23rd century are going to coexist? Like, I love this absolutely batshit idea, but I'm like, please make it make sense, or at least justify it in some way so that it's not like, oh, we just thought this would be fun, let's do this. Like, yeah, I'm really curious to see how that will work as well.
That's the thing. I will suspend disbelief to a massive amount for stuff, as long as there is just some plot point I can hang my hat on.
Yeah.
So if they say, oh, we were experimenting with time travel and we broke everything, and I'll be like, that'll do. Okay, fine. Yeah, that makes sense. You broke it. But if they're just like, this looks good, doesn't it? And you sat there like, why does it though?
Yeah.
And there's nothing, like any Asylum movie or Michael Bay movie. Like, there's nothing that you can explain that makes sense. But it explodes and it looks pretty. So, but yeah, the other thing as well that got me though, I wonder how much of an MMO it'll be, because you mentioned Destiny before, and obviously Destiny's MMO light, but it's you've got lots of players in the hub, but you're only going to go out with 3 at a time, and you're not going to see other players wandering around. So that makes it more doable and still feels like an interconnected world. Although for God's sake, don't tell Activision it's an MMO; they don't like it. I will never forget the amount of times that I heard Activision use the phrase, it's not an MMO, and we were all sat there going, it's an MMO though, isn't it? This is clearly what it is.
They were worried it would scare people off, and how do we market that to console players when they just want a first-person shooter from Bungie? Yeah, I remember that.
But thinking about it, maybe this is part of the reason why, because that was MMO-esque. It had an MMO elements and enough to make it good, but it wasn't, hundreds of people. I mean, I'm thinking of Stormwind on my Alliance character when I would land and couldn't see the floor for people just carpeting the place. I couldn't even get to the mailbox in there on the heavier servers I was on. You mentioned that and look at those graphics, and all I can imagine is my PC bursting into flames. But if you've got a little bit more reserved and a little bit, it's like, oh, when you're just out in the general areas, you're not going to see people. But when you go to these certain points, you can interact with them and maybe, emote and stuff. You get that element without it being too much. So I suppose it's levels of MMO, isn't it? But it looks good.
No, definitely. I know, and I think you're right. If they go maybe the Destiny route rather than the World of Warcraft and Final Fantasy 14 route, then maybe it is more manageable, a bit more contained. You can still do the big multiplayer raid type of activities. But if you just want to do some questing, some fire team stuff, then it's just your kind of 3 players, 4 players, and you're not necessarily going to be running into 50 other people in a particular area wherever you've instanced an activity or something like that, unless there is. And I'm going to be referring to Destiny here because that's the one I'm, I guess, most familiar with. Is if you have a public event like you do in Destiny, then you maybe get like 3 or 4 other random players just joining that event, but it's only ever like a maximum of maybe 6 to maybe 7 in public events. You usually don't get like a colossal amount of 20 or 30 other players just like congregating for public events because they're much more smaller activities, like maybe just like a boss to fight or something like that. And you still got the strikes, you still got the raid activities. So I wonder if they do take that approach, or if they want to really push out the potential for what an MMO can be in, you know, the next 4 years, 5 years, or something like that, to say that we are going nuts with this. You can have armies on the ground doing activities together, sort of, well, not really together because it'd just be chaos. But maybe they want this kind of battlefield real feel, where it's like a big, quote, you know, no pun intended, a battlefield game where you've got 100 players just having these combat encounters, but then you can maybe just splinter off and do side questing activities and that kind of stuff. Again, it's another hugely exciting potential MMO project coming from NC Soft, but god damn, they must be absolutely massive company.
Yeah.
There. Jesus.